All right, guys, we're going to get started. Manny's going to go from 3 to 6. You know, he'll take breaks like always whenever he needs them or whenever he sees that you guys need them. And then, unlike the schedule, you guys have from 6 to 7:15. You'll have a dinner break from 6 to 7:15, and then Manny will come back at 7:15, and he'll go from 7:15 to wherever he feels like he's got accomplished what he needed to get accomplished for this thing. But I want to introduce Manny Diaz. Manny was the defensive coordinator for us at Middle. He's been there the whole time that Rick has been there. He was at North Carolina State before that, where they had the #1 defense in the country. Before that, he was at Florida State, where they had one of the best defenses. And as most of you know, he was just hired as the defensive coordinator at Mississippi State. Manny's a young guy, you know, much like you guys have known Neil. Manny's progressed in the same way that Neil did. You know, he's gone way faster than you're supposed to go. And the only way you do that you go faster than you're supposed to go, is when you have special talent. And he's got special talent. I've worked with great defensive coordinators, and I've worked with really shitty ones before. And he's the best. He's the best because of this, because he cares about people. Kids love him. They respect him. And he doesn't care what I do. He's the best defensive coordinator for this offense because he loves it when we play fast. He loves it when we move up and down the field. He loves it when we run trick plays in practice. He loves all that stuff because it prepares him. He doesn't care what we do. All he cares about is what he does. And that's why, you know, I'm going to be calling him for a loan sometime in the next week. He doesn't know that yet, but first payday, you know, I'm expecting some money back from it. But give Manny Diaz a real warm welcome, and Manny, get him going.
I will say two things, though, sort of piggybacking on that point. We had a good year of on defense this year at Middle, and the #1 reason for that is because of our head coach, Rick Stockstill. And it's something that I was not a believer in until we came here. And the one advantage, of course, we have is we get to pick our players. Okay, but I can't even talk about anything we do and any success that we had without talking about our kids, and that the #1 defining factor that Rick's influence on our program is he won't take a kid unless he believes that he's a good person and that loves football. And our team this year twice, and this has never really happened to me before, there were 2 times this year I was on the sideline at a game, and I was literally in awe of the kids that I was coaching. I mean, I mean, we all give the big speech, and we're going to be rah-rah and this, that, and there. But there was 2 games where we were down at halftime, and when I saw the way that our kids played in the second half, and I'm not talking about on defense, I'm talking about offense, defense, kicking, I mean, just the whole thing. As a coach, I mean, you're almost like, I can't even believe. I mean, you go in there at halftime, you try and get it right. You almost can't even believe that they're playing the way that they're playing, and that is a testament to the character of the kids that we play with. Good people win. Now, you know, you got to have some other things, but boy, it's hard to win with a bunch of ones that don't love it. The second thing is, we didn't change our defense between 2008 and 2009. We didn't really change our defense since we've been here in 2006. But all of a sudden, this year, we'd lead the country in tackles for loss up until I think Texas got us in the Rose Bowl. Yeah, I think Texas passed us or whatever, somebody, and then we were top 5 in sacks, you know, throughout the course of the year. You say, well, what changed? What do we do different? I'll tell you what we did different is Tony Franklin came and ran our offense. And that changed the dynamic of our defense. Because you know, whatever he thinks of me as a defensive coordinator, I'm a heck of a lot better of a defensive coordinator when I got 30 points to defend. There's no doubt about it. But in addition to just how the respect I have for him and his offense and the results that it gets, see, to me, and some of you guys in this room that might be head coaches, and you're sort of sitting here on both sides of the fence, to me, it doesn't make any sense to be in that room and learning how to play as fast as you possibly can on offense. And some of you guys that are in that offensive system, and you see the tangible effects of when you bring that to your school, and now when you start going up and down the field doing relatively simple things on offense, good concepts, you don't care who you're playing against, you just run it because your kids know it and they're just better at doing it than the other team is better at stopping you from doing it. Well, what's funny is that I can't imagine why you'd want to be in an offense like that and then in a soft, bend but don't break defense that it's going to allow the other team to possess the football. It's hard to score without possessing the football. And to me, my whole thing this year was, and we told the kids, I want to get the ball back to Tony Franklin. Because the less time that opponent's defense has to rest, the better his plays are. He's got good plays, but the more he's on the field, his plays get better and better. He'll be the first one to tell you. So we're gonna attack by nature. But I didn't. What I'm telling you now, I didn't know in August because I had not seen it work together. But when I saw what he did on offense, put together with what we did on defense, it just made perfect sense. And that's why when he asked me to come here, I said I'd love to. And that's why even when, with me getting a job, whatever, I wanted to come back because I wanted to be here, and I'm going to try and do everything I possibly can over the course of this afternoon to convince you that not only is attacking on defense and being aggressive on defense the right thing to do, it's the easiest thing you can do. And I hope I can impress upon you that it's very easy to coach. It's the most fun thing to do. But more than all that, if you're going to do that, it makes a heck of a lot of sense to come here and do this, okay? Because it gets your whole team jacked up. It gets your whole team on the front foot. We're going to attack from, I know he's going to attack you, your defense when he gets off the bus. I'm going to attack your offense. And then your team develops a mentality, and they start to think that they're better than they are. So how I want to start this deal is this, and this could be true whether you're a 4-3, 3-4, 5-2, 3-3-5, whatever. The first thing, though, is this, is that you got to get your kids to understand what team defense is all about. So these principles that you're going to see here, we're going to talk principles just for a little bit before we get into the blitz game, okay? Because the reality is, if you don't have this, and people sometimes say, oh, get to the drawings of plays. Everybody runs the same plays. If you don't have this, if you don't stress this to your kids every day, then it really doesn't matter, okay? We started off, when we met before the season, we said we have one goal. And our goal in our conference is that we wanted that New Orleans Bowl trophy. To do that, we had to win the conference. That's the only thing that we can control. We can't control where we're ranked. If we beat Maryland out of conference, they don't give you a ring for that. Nothing you get for that. If you beat Memphis or whatever, that's nice, but there's nothing that comes along with that. The only thing that we can get is by winning our conference. So I wanted to sell that to our kids as if that was the most important thing, as if it was. But bear with me, okay? So we said we got one goal. Our goal is to win the district, whatever the first thing you can control. I wanted them to think first that that is really our true only one goal, okay? Now, how do we get it defensively? This is number one thing to me. What do you want to do on defense? Do you want to hold them to under 100 rushing, hold them under 300 passing, hold them under 13 points, hold them under 15 points, all these things? To me, it's real simple, okay? This is all we talk about with our kids, okay? The first thing we want to do is we want to prevent points. Well, how many points do you want to prevent? Ideally, one less than our offense scores. If we can hold it to that, usually we're doing pretty good, okay? We'll be happy at the end of the day. But all we want our kids to think is prevent points. What does prevent points mean? Prevent points means when the guy breaks a long run, if we can get that guy down on the 1 yard line, we've prevented points. They don't score points until they cross that magical line there at the end of the field or kick the ball in between those posts. Everything we do, we want to prevent points, okay? The second thing we want to do is we want to force turnovers. We all know, you hear playoffs time right now, we all know, oh, whoever turns the ball over, they lose the game, da-da-da-da. But realistically, other than just talking about it, are you really working on forcing turnovers? Is it what you emphasize as being more important than everything other than preventing points? We must force turnovers, okay? And part of that, and I didn't realize, again, going into this year, the tangible effect, you know what really helped us starting forcing turnovers? When we started talking about objective 3, which was the score. And everybody says, well, why wouldn't you want to score on defense? Scoring on defense, I mean, sure, we want to score on defense. But the second we started talking, say, we want to get a fumble or we want to intercept the pass. Well, of course, everybody wants to do that. But in a weird way, when we started talking about all during two-a-days this year about scoring, we want to score on defense. The funny thing is, it made them hunt the ball. It was like the second thing. Of course, you got to force a turnover to score. But once they started talking about scoring, man, they wanted to get after those turnovers. And that was something that we forced a couple in the first game, forced 3 or 4 in the second game, and then all of a sudden it just starts to snowball. And your kids just get that mentality. They start to smell that blood in the water, okay? And then we want to force the ball. We want to force the ball to our offense in great field position. We just want to get the ball to our offense as close to our goal line as humanly possible. And that's it. And that's all we talk about. You say, well, what about, what about holding somebody in the run game to under 100 yards or whatever? Well, what if you're playing Georgia Tech? I mean, they're going to run the ball 55 times. You can hold them under 100 yards. That's not realistic. Well, What if you're playing Texas Tech? Well, maybe they don't want to run. Maybe they're going to throw the ball 74 times. You hold them to under 100 yards, you haven't really done anything. Those goals change week to week. I know this, if you do those 4 things, that's what wins. And all we want to talk about on defense is what wins. Preventing points, you get turnovers, you score on defense, and then as many times as we can, put that ball where our offense starts as close to that goal line as possible. And that's all we talked about to our kids. Now, how do we do it? Number 1 is conditioning. We absolutely have to be in the best shape possible. We want to fly to the ball. We want to be the fastest defense in the Sun Belt because, to me, the first thing we'll talk about, if you want to blitz and attack, and I tell my kids this all the time, it stinks at half speed. There's not a lot of good defenses that are good at half speed. But if you want to be an attacking defense, part of the whole deal is that you've got to go fast. Like across the hall, you're going to see a lot of cross references on this deal. So we've got to be in great shape because whether we got the fastest kids or not, I don't know. But we better play the fastest, and that means for the whole 48 or 60 minutes. Okay. Great fundamentals and techniques. We want to be experts at beating blocks and tackling. And I don't know if we talk enough sometimes about beating blocks, about hands, refusing to be blocked, using someone's hands, how to escape. How do I escape a block, And then tackling. We say, oh, tackle. You can teach how to tackle. What is it? But tackling is angles. Coach, I know how to tackle. I'll tackle the guy if he'll just stand there straight up and I can go run up and tackle him. I can tackle the guy if he's a sled. But tell me in a game. Tell me in a game when I'm breaking from a distance. Tell me in a game when I'm tackling a moving body. How do I tackle? What do I trust? You know what you trust? You trust your angle. Because a man with no arms can get a guy on the ground if he takes the proper angle inside out or outside in. I can dive and get caught up in your feet if I got the right angle. Okay? We want a simple but multiple scheme. And no different than an offense. If an offense is going to run 4 verticals or curl flat out of multiple formations and they're going to call it the same play, we want to run a lot of our things that really are the same to us, but we can run them out of different looks. But to our kids, it's the same defense, the same blitz. So it's easy for us and hard on them. Where people after the game say, man, it's like y'all do a lot of stuff. And reality for our kids is it's not that complicated. I have got to impress upon you that what we do is super simple, okay? Simple for us. But again, along the same lines, we want to create confusion through movement and disguise. The truth of the matter is this. We don't have the biggest players, and a lot of times we don't have the best players, okay? And to me, if you don't move, and let me tell you a story. When I was at NC State, okay, we had been a 4-3 cover 1 team dating back to Florida State, and we were just so good at it. And we had really good players, but eventually people were starting to get really good at attacking it, okay? And we hired Reggie Herring, who ended up at Arkansas. He's now at the Cowboys as their linebacker coach. And he came in and he brought a lot of this zone blitz concept to our defense at NC State. And we blitzed, moved, stunted, did all this type of stuff on just about every play. We were really young on the defensive line that year, okay? And that was the year we finished number 1 in total defense. The next year, Reggie left, went to Arkansas. So we had a new defense coordinator came in. My head coach at that time, Chuck Amato, was the next D-line coach. Well, that D-line that was young that year coming back was Mario Williams, who ended up being the number 1 pick in the draft. The other end was Manny Lawson, who was picked 20th overall by the 49ers. The inside guy got picked in the first round by the Bills, and the other inside guy got picked by the Chiefs. We had 4 NFL defensive linemen. So, number 1, no matter what you do, you're going to be pretty good on defense if you got 4 pros playing on your front 4. But here's the funny thing, and I don't know if you guys remember this, but when Mario Williams, the big controversy, should they pick him or Reggie Bush or Vince Young, that all the experts on TV, they kept dogging Mario because they said, well, he didn't have any sacks. He came out as a junior. He didn't have any sacks the first 6 games of his junior year. And we played like Richmond and people that we should have been better than, that he should have been dominant against. And then in the last half of the year, the last 5 games, he had 9 or 10 sacks. So they're worried about the unevenness of his production. Well, there's 2 things. One, Mario was a true junior. He'd only been there for 3 years. He went to a 1A high school in eastern North Carolina where when they came to our team camp, 34 guys that looked like me got off the bus. Okay? And I'm like, where's this guy? And then all of a sudden a guy that that had to duck to get out the bus door came out. I said, oh, that must be him right there. Okay? But, played wide receiver, was not really natural. So he was kind of getting it at that time. But there was one thing too. See, our ego as a coaching staff, Our ego said, well, we've got this great defensive line. We don't have to do all this moving around and blitzing and stunning. We'll just whip ass with these guys that we got. And the truth of the matter is that, and we weren't horrible, but we were not dominant by any stretch, because no matter how good of a player you are, if I know you're only doing one thing, I can block you. Even if you're better than me. I may not block you perfectly every time, but if I always know where you are, I can get you blocked. Okay? The second that I know that you're here, and then all of a sudden you can come inside, you can come outside, you can drop, you can do all these things, now I've lost my aggression. And football is a sport of aggression. And all I want to accomplish with my defense, schematically, is that I want to be more aggressive than the offense we're playing against. Because I want our kids jumping around excited to play football, and I want their kids worried about what we're going to do next. Okay? And that's what comes about making them mentally unsure. We'll talk more about that later, okay? And then we want to pressure the offense. We want to dictate to the offense. We say it all the time. We're going to do what we do. And again, I hear Tony say it all the time. This is who we are. We're going to do what we do. We don't care. We're going to bring it. When we get to the ballpark, let them worry about us. Okay? Let them worry about us. We're going to be our thing. There's things that we do that they don't like. If there's something that they do that we don't like, well, if we throw out what we do, we may actually be helping them, because they may be concerned with us. No, we're going to dictate to the offense, not the other way around, okay? We're going to try as hard as we can to create mismatches, try and get our best on their worst, you know, in terms of attacking the offense. We want to try and have an idea of defending formations, you know what I mean, through proper scouting, which we'll try and talk about in the second session tonight. We want to have our kids, don't want to give them a million things to think about. But boy, if you can just through the course of the week, remember like these 5 things. Remember when the fullback's offset this way, they're doing this. Remember when the wing is on this side, they're doing that. Just a couple things, Coach. I can't handle 8 million things, but just give me a couple things. Give me a clue, okay? And then we want to defend their best player. And again, this slide right here is from the summertime, picking on Delonte West, but that's the guy for the Cavs that kept shooting the ball in the playoffs when they were losing to the Magic. They got LeBron sitting there, you know, acting like a decoy. You know what I mean? Let them beat you with Delonte West. You know what I mean? We're going to try and take away as much as we can, take away the player, the best player that we think can beat us. Okay? Preparation, I should say attention to detail. And I love saying this all the time. Don't think you know you know. Know that you know. Because when you're out in the field, if you think you know during practice, you will not know it during the game. If you think you know it in a meeting, you probably won't know it at practice. You have to convince them to know that you know. I know, and I call it that's why I call it the Matrix moment. When the movie in the Matrix, when all of a sudden Keanu Reeves started seeing all the little green numbers or whatever instead of seeing the people. At that moment, he knew. And with our kids, just like your kids, when you get them at the young age, and you hope that at some point they have that Matrix moment where all of a sudden they're like, Coach, and they'll just tell you something like da da da. You're like, son, I've been telling you that for like 3 years. But that's their Matrix moment. They finally start seeing all the little green words and stuff. Okay, and then a couple of situations just to talk to your kids about. Just things that come up during the course of the year. Okay, and obviously normal downs. That's 1st and 10, 2nd and medium. Okay, we want to stop the run. Try as possible take away their best receiver. Try and limit what they do best. What are their that's their meat and potato plays. And what are they going to run? What are their best runs going to be? We want to try and disrupt those things, okay, on normal downs. Possession downs. These are turnover downs, 3rd down, 4th down. If we succeed, we get the football. So therefore, those are the most important downs in football. The normal downs are important because that determines how many yards they need on the possession downs. It's harder to defend 3rd down and 2, 3rd and 3. Okay, so the whole emphasis is get off the field. We want to put our 11 fastest guys on the field. We played Memphis this year. We'll usually go 3 down, and I'll show you our 3 down package later on. We go 3 down. We had 8 defensive backs on the field behind the 3 down linemen. And in fact, because I'm a total idiot, our Mike linebacker was at nose on that play. We had 2 defensive ends, a Mike linebacker, and 8 defensive backs. It was like the attack of the Mighty Mites. You know what I mean? Like we were playing a man coverage, and it was against Memphis, and they were in a max protect. So if you protect, if we're in man, you add yourself to the rush, and there was like all these little like, but they're fast. That's the thing about it. We'll start talking about blitz game. Big guys blitz, kind of fast. You hope fast a little bit. Medium guys blitz faster. Them little guys blitz a lot faster. So sometimes those kids that can't quite play for you on 1st down, You know what I mean? They're maybe limited. Maybe they're young. You know? And you got that good middle linebacker because he got the fullback trap. Maybe on third down, that's where he gets his blow. And you kind of put in that younger kid, or maybe that faster kid that can't grasp your entire package. You know what I mean? That can't read what you want them to read on first down. Maybe on third down, when we're just going to go, we're going to blitz here. We're going to, drop to the middle of the field. Just, third down, maybe some things that are a little bit simpler, but something to always think about with your personnel. Okay, they're backed up every time for whatever reason. If on a punt or whatever, if they start the ball inside their 10, I'm getting the kids around me and I'm saying we're going to score. I mean, we talk about no. This is, look how close the ball is to our little magic box. Let's get down there and let's score, okay? And at a minimum, we want to get them 3 and out to get great position for our offense, okay? And then when we're in the red zone, when they get in our red zone, we're trying to get a turnover. We have a saying we want to say, make them kick. Everything we do on our defense, at the minimum, make them kick, okay? Hopefully not an extra point, okay? Make them kick a field goal. And then no easy throws. We teach our linemen when in the red zone, don't rush by the quarterback. Don't rush by the quarterback. You want to take away those easy throwing lanes down there in the red zone because the quarterback does not have far to throw the ball. He's got easy windows to throw it in there. We don't want people by the quarterback. Quarterback scrambles hurt you down there that part of the field. So awareness. You understand free safety. It's different now. You're a post player. But now we just want to slide on the goal line. There's not 80 yards of field behind you. It's a different dynamic, okay? Goal line. Don't let them run it in the end zone. It's a mentality. Anything in your power, don't let them run the ball in the end zone. And then you got to defend the obvious throw, which to me is fullback in the flat, tight end on the corner. If there's a receiver, you got to defend the fade or the slant. If they beat you on something else, tell your kids, hey, whatever. You know what I mean? But don't let them run that dang ball in your end zone, and don't let them throw the easy, obvious throws. Okay? And the point is, just make them do something different. You know what I mean? Let them coaches show that they went to some clinic, in the offseason and learned some damn fancy goal line play. Don't let them beat you with the play that they beat everybody else with. Have at least a little bit of pride in that, okay? 4-minute situation. Got to practice with your kids. They have the ball, and we're down. One of those deals where they get a first down, they got a chance to run the clock out. Do you need, if you're playing cover 1, if you're playing cover 3, do you need a deep middle safety? Is there a deep middle? Are they going to throw it in that situation? What can you get to get as many people close to the box as possible, okay? If they get the first down, they lose the game anyway. If they score, then you lose the game anyway, unless you're worried about Vegas and the point spread, okay? A loss is a loss, okay? Getting up off the pile quick so they get that next play started, okay? 2-minute situation. They got the ball, but we're ahead. Now we're defending. 2-minute situation, okay? No points. Tackle and bounce. Get up slowly. You got to tell your DBs, this is where they got to make 100% certain that if they're going to go for the pick, they have it. You've seen the play where they go for the pick, it goes through their hands, the guy catches it, turns and runs for a touchdown. Just things that your kids, if they want to be no matter what scheme you do, if you want to be a good football player, that you've got to be able to handle this, okay? And then no huddle. And this is where, again, we're blessed. The first year we were not no huddle in Middle Tennessee, and when we'd play people like Tony's offense, our kids would you could see their brains melting out of their rear. You see their eyeballs doing this thing where they're all swirling around like, coach, and it just unnerved us. It unnerved us. And that's the great thing about practicing against it. Because when you practice against that offense, you get into a game and the players say, coach, they go, what do they call that thing where 11 guys stand in a circle before the play and they talk about stuff? He says, we call that a huddle. I said, whoa, huddle. I was watching an ESPN Classic game and there was somebody doing that. Yeah, I know, they used to do that back then, But every now and then we play somebody that huddles. And the kids just laugh. They're like, look at all this time we have in between plays. You know what I mean? They're doing jumping jacks, like shadow boxing each other. I mean, that's what you want. That's why I love practicing against his offense, because the games become easy. Because even if we don't see, and this is where one thing with Tony in terms of letting him do his thing, even if we're playing a running football team, we're playing an I-back football team, it doesn't matter who we're playing. Yeah, we'll have to get the look in scout team or whatever, how to fit I-backs. But you know what offense and defense is? It's about asking questions and having the answers. Asking questions and having the answers. And to me, the faster the offense runs a play at you, you've got to answer those questions that they ask. Because as a defensive coach, when you call the play, you need all 11 of those kids to understand what their assignment is. Okay? If I ask you, what is 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1? Okay? You can get it figured out. Some of you guys had to write it down or whatever, okay? It was more than you have on one hand of fingers, okay? So that got some of you. But if you ask, what's 1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1? 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 4. Whoa. But I'm asking, those are very easy math questions. But I ask them fast. You ask them to give me the answer fast, it's harder. Okay? It's harder. That's what offense does. So to me, defensively, what we have to do is we can't flinch. We have to have that ability to play fast and not worry that when they go fast, we still have, because they're not asking complicated questions, but they're asking them really fast. And you'd be amazed at how people blow the answers to easy questions when they're asked quickly, okay? Protecting a lead. It's sort of what we talked about before. No big plays, but we got to stay aggressive. To me, the worst lead in football, is 13. That is a sucker lead right there. And one thing I talked to Tony when he first came, I said, Tony, I said, when you're up in the second half, and not like I had to tell him this, I'm like, when you're up in the second half, you can't score enough points. You can't score enough points. That, to me, the offense that, and I'm saying this as a defensive coach, and I'm not trying to say this to sell out my kids or to cover my own ass, but when you have the ball up by 3 at the end of the game and the offense that runs the ball up in the middle of the field 3 straight times and punts, to me, that's candy ass. Go win the game. You have the ball. I know it's really hard to score in football without the ball. They haven't figured out a lot of ways. Other than a safety, it's dang hard to score without the ball. Possess the football. Possess the football, okay? So Tony, he did pretty good. We didn't get caught from behind too many times this year, okay? And then sudden change. Let me just give you one idea on sudden change. And some of you guys, if you're able to play a separate offense and defense, some of you guys have guys that go both ways. But I'm a big believer in that sudden change. Your defense is sitting there on the sideline, okay? And the DBs are over here, and this guy's over there, and all of a sudden, boop, there's a fumble, there's a pick on the field. It's a very chaotic moment, okay? Because normally there's a general rhythm to when you start on defense. There's a kicking play. Normally, you kick the ball over, they get it or whatever, it's a kickoff, punt, whatever it is, okay? A sudden change play is, it's out of rhythm. Da-da-da-da-da-da, like the record skips, you know what I mean? Up, we got to go, okay? And what I don't like is this, is that the D lineman that was standing over here talking to somebody, he runs on the field from there, the DB runs on the field from there, your coach is yelling at each other, do we have 11, do we have 11, are we good, and it's just everybody's kind of chaotic, and you're rushed to call a defense, and in reality, you have more time than that. So what I'm a big believer in is that when there's a sudden change, is that I want to go find as close as I can get to where the ball is, and I want them all to come to me. Let them all come to me, and just look at them for a second and say, guys, we're good. Just relax for a second. We're good. No, I don't care if the ball's on our 1, if it's on their 1. We fumbled it. It's a big deal. Relax. Let's go play defense. Go put the fire out. And just kind of that, because a lot of times, especially if you're not doing well on offense, the kids might get pissed. MF, blah, 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 and they're running the field, and they're all, and they're not in the mindset, they're not in the proper mindset to go out there and play defense to execute their assignments. So I'm a big believer in that if you get sudden change, bring the kids to you for a second and just say, hey, listen, regroup, we're good, no big deal, let's go play ball, okay? And then victory formation. I'm a believer in, if you're in a Hail Mary situation, we got burned on one this year at the end of a first half. We got to bat the ball down and just rebounders, coach rebounders. If the ball's going to bounce around, we have a jumper, and then we've got deep rebounders and short rebounders. Because generally the ball doesn't get caught, it normally gets bounced around, and then gets bounced around, and the guy catches it. So make sure, however you teach your victory play, your Hail Mary play, that you've got some guys that are short rebounders or deep rebounders, and then we always practice that the heartbreak play, the lateral play, where they catch the dig and they flip to this guy, and just these are things that at the end of the day, when you look back at the end of the season, that's what costs you a game. These are little tiny things that over the course of time will cost you a game, okay? Now, this is the stuff that we wanted to preach our players about. And one thing I love about our scheme is that a lot of guys get to do the same job. We'll blitz everybody. We'll just about drop everybody. So it's a kind of, it sort of evolves into a good team defense. So we all want to be on the same page of this. First thing we want to talk about is what loses every time. And the number one thing that loses is jealousy. Bottom line is jealousy. There are plays in this defense for everybody. We're going to be an attacking, aggressive defense. We're going to sack the quarterback, get picks, make turnovers, but you have got to do your job first, and you are dependent on somebody else doing their job. And we love to show plays where, Junior would have gotten the sack if Sweetheart just would have stayed in his blitz lane, or this guy would have just contained the ball, or just, how everything we do is, or on the opposite side, is that the reason we got this interception is because our 3 technique made such an amazing job to make the quarterback move off the spot and throw the ball on the run. So we're a big believer that we've got to wipe out selfishness and petty jealousy, okay? A lack of respect for each other. You know, you're pulling kids in that some like each other, some don't like each other. They don't have to like each other, to be honest, okay? I don't like some of them, but we better be able to respect all of them, okay? You got to respect what they do on the field. We got to be able to respect each other, on and off the field. Different backgrounds, but we got one team. Cannot have losing teams have a lack of respect for each other, okay? A know-it-all mentality. Y'all don't have any of these, do you? This day and age? Huh? Know-it-all mentalities? Know-it-all mentality. Accept coaching. We are here to help you. At the same time, you got to have a thick skin, and as y'all know, thick skins are getting a lot less popular in our society. But you got to talk about it. We got to preach it. We got to talk about it. First and foremost, understand this. This is the way you're going to be coached. You want to be good? Yes, coach. We want to be good. Then you got to be coached good. If you could be good on your own, we wouldn't have to be here. Okay? So dang it, have a little bit of thick skin. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. Y'all probably might deal with this just a little bit. Outside influences. Family. Friends, parents. My favorite saying, they don't know that they don't know. The mom or dad that comes to you and insists that Scrappy is one of the better players on the team and everybody knows, they're not lying. They don't know. They don't know. And they don't know that they don't know. That's a bad combination. Not knowing is bad. Not knowing you don't know is terrible. That's what they are. So we got to make sure in our team, in our room, that we're good with that. That we understand that the only people that know really are in here, are in this room. Okay? I love what I saw Joe Tiller, who was the coach at Purdue. I heard one time from him. He said the first thing he does when all the freshmen come in, he says, your parents can talk to me about anything except your playing time. And he says, here's what I'm going to do to combat that. Okay? If they call me and ask me why, you know, Scooby's not playing, okay, I'm going to tell them, and then what I do is this, is that I'm going to go in front of the team, and I say, before we start today's practice, I just want you to know something. Scooby's mom called today. Wanted to know why Scooby isn't playing. And what do you think Scooby's doing right now? He's feeling about this, you know, all of a sudden he's just sinking in his chair because everybody in the room knows why Scooby's not playing. Scooby stinks, Scooby doesn't try, you know, whatever Scooby's problem is, okay? But it's really funny to put that peer pressure and you put it on the kid because you know what the kids do? We have a great saying in our defensive staff room. After the game ends, and we're all sitting here as coaches talking about the game, when the kids go back to their parents, the parents generally don't say, dang, son, that was your fault. They're going to try and make their boy feel good. So they're going to talk about all the, I mean, whether a comment came out of the sky. There's going to be a million reasons why you lost the game other than their son. And it might have been their son that lost the game. And the easiest target is who? Us, right? Dang, you know, why did coach play this coverage? And they ain't going to say, why did coach put you in the game? That coach is crazy. He played you? We only keep you in the house because we gave birth to you. You know what I mean? This coach, he has a choice, and he still plays it, you know? So, but we got to talk about that. To me, you got to talk to that about, especially in this day and age, and you're seeing all the examples this offseason. I just think that's as critical as anything if you want to have a good defense, no matter what you do. Obviously, off the field stuff, you know, making decisions, and we try and frame it all in the framework of selfishness. Just don't be selfish. If you're going to be on a team, every decision you make affects the team, or you're either going to pick team, or you're going to pick yourself. And they're not always going to do right, but you want them to be aware of that. You want them to be aware of just that it's either a selfish choice or a team choice. You have to believe in something. You're either going to believe in yourself, and you got all the answers, and you can figure it right, or you're going to believe in something bigger than that. It might be the scheme, might be the team. Whatever it is, you got to believe in something bigger, okay? And then just not having fun. I told you about stock and taking kids. The number one thing, when a kid comes on a visit to Middle Tennessee, if the kid sits there and doesn't smile, doesn't look anybody in the eye, kind of acts like you know, life owes him something, it doesn't matter what that kid does on film. Stock will tell that kid on Sunday afternoon, keep your options open. Because right now we can't offer you at Middle Tennessee. He don't want that kid. We're not good enough coaches to have to try and convince kids that, you know, that life is good. We want ones that kind of know life is good. And sometimes you can pick them, sometimes you can't. We want to laugh at ourselves. We want to laugh at each other. And then this is, I hope there's a lot of things you take away from this. If you take away one thing from this meeting, I'm a big believer in this. I went and visited with the Jets for a week this offseason, and they did something that I thought was absolutely outstanding. Okay, and this is about creating a culture that right now society is kind of fighting against. We call it sensitivity points. In the NFL, they call it a sensitivity fine because, of course, they got money. They can fine them. We can't fine them. We just create these imaginary points. And what that means is this. You're coaching, you're coaching so-and-so, okay? So-and-so ain't doing right, and you jump on him. And that kid is tired and whatever, is going to snap back at you. You know what I mean? Just with whatever. He's got something smart to say. He's got some answer. In our mind, he's being sensitive. Why are you being so sensitive? Oh, we just said on the other slides, we're trying to get you right. Take coach and have thick skin. And you're look. Everybody look at Stevie right here. Stevie's feeling sensitive. And that's a word that really a lot of football players, there's a lot of words that they like to have to describe themselves. Sensitive is not one of the, that's not in the top 5. It's not even others receiving votes down there at the bottom. Okay? And it's good for that, but you know what it's dang great for? And tell me if you're in this scenario. You got that kid that wants to be a leader. You know right now that the worst thing amongst kids is to call each other out. That's the greatest crime. I mean, we always talk about, back in the day, captain would have gone and fought the guy that was, half-assing and gotten that straight and whatever. And we know that doesn't happen anymore. And to me as coaches, the mistake that we make is that we sit around and lament for those days past. Shit, back in the day, our star player, he never would have put up with that. He would have, him and the 3 other seniors would have gone there and beat the hell out of that kid. Yeah, those days are gone. The kids just don't do that anymore. But what you have to do, part of the reason is we got to empower those leaders. Because the kids hate calling out other kids. So let's say this. Let's say you do have a couple that are born and bred leaders, that the ones that will do anything for you, coach. They're the work hard guys, okay? And you're running sprints, and the one kid just stops running. The one kid starts walking or whatever, or won't touch the line. You know what I mean? Just making a selfish choice. And your kid, who you wish you had 22 to 44 of them, but you have 4 of them because that's the world we all live in. But that one kid says, come on, man, touch the line. And that kid responds back, F you, man, worry about your own thing. And to me as a coach, you have a choice at that moment. Because you have a kid that has tried to lead, and you have a kid that has rejected it. And if nothing gets said, you just cut that kid's nuts out. And then for us to go back in the coach's office afterward and say, man, I wish we had some leaders. I wish it was like it was back in the day. See, we just failed that kid. So I was waiting. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I knew it was going to happen. Sure enough, it was during 2 days. We had a really good leadership in our defensive line. And when our 2s were out there, and we had a freshman who thinks he's going to be a good player, but he was just BSing around out in the field, and our older guys were getting on him. Come on, man. Get off the ball, blah, 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 whatever they're telling him. It didn't matter what they were telling him. Finally, he had enough. And he turned, and he said, whatever he said. F you, blah, 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 worry about yourself, this, that, and the other. And that was all I needed. First I was like, and I was like, here we go. And I blew the whistle, ran on the field. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold up. Everybody, Philip is sensitive. Philip's being sensitive. You know what that kid wanted to do right then? Put his hand right down my throat. Knock all my teeth out. But he couldn't. Because he knew I was right. Because bottom line, I caught him acting like a bitch. And the kids knew it. And if you're going to stress, if you want your defense to play like a bunch of dang men, and if we're going to get back to honoring what a dang man means, and when we say we're trying to make them be better men, well then, let's make them better men. But one way you got to make them better men is you got to honor what it takes to be a man, and you have to honor those things, and then you have to reject all the things that as men that we don't like. And one thing men don't do is men don't bitch. Men don't just complain and stuff like that. I told all our kids in our room, I said, one day you'll find a woman that you love. I said, first of all, everyone in here, there's 100 things you do that are annoying. There's 100 things all of us do right now that are annoying, okay? So I told our players that you'll find a woman and you'll love her, but you won't know about them 100 things yet. But you'll find out. You'll get married, you'll find out she's got 100 things that are annoying, right? But here's the difference between a man and a woman. She's going to tell you every day about your 100 things that you do that are annoying. If you tell her about the 100 things she does annoying, you'll become an ex-husband. You'll end up divorced, you'll end up with half your stuff. So that's the difference between a man and a woman. Man's just going to take it. A woman's going to complain. that's what we're trying to work on here. Sensitivity points. It was the greatest thing. To be honest with you, I had to do it twice. The second time, my middle linebacker was trying to tell my defensive end to get in a 7 technique, and the end didn't think he had to. And he tried to bump him, and both are great kids. Both are leaders. And the defensive end turned around and started yelling at the Mike linebacker. You know, that's it. Made a big deal, and it crushed the kid. Kid was pissed at me. He wouldn't talk to me for a day. The defense, he didn't talk to me for the rest of that game week. I don't care. I've got to protect my middle linebacker. He's a hell of a player. He's a leader on our football team. I got to protect him. I'm like the baseball manager goes and gets thrown out of the game. You know what I mean? You got to go protect your leaders. So sensitivity points, I highly recommend it. Makes your job a lot easier. Okay? What we are. So after talking about what we don't want to be, so we talk about what we are. And again, and this is we'll talk about hitting the quarterback. But if you don't hit the quarterback if you don't get everybody on this page right here. We tell our kids, and y'all know this to be true, we are in the most selfish time. They're in the most selfish time in their life. They're at that point where they're not a man, they're not a little kid, and they ain't really sure and they want to pick and choose when they want to be a man and when they want to be a little kid. It's a transition. It's really tough. And then right now we're at a point where the selfish athlete gets all the attention. It's a me world. Some of you guys can't. You got guys walking the halls that won't commit to playing football because the reality is there's other sports that it's easier to get individual attention than in football. You know, yeah, come out, be our strong safety. Strong safety. How do I? I can't get a triple double playing strong safety. You know. Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff. All these ways where I can broadcast myself. It's just so many things now pointing at me, and that's what you're fighting. I mean, you want to be good at anything in this sport. You're fighting all that stuff. And you got to convince them it's not about you. So we got to be selfless. Everything we do, you're selfish or selfless. Okay? Tough. And obviously we want to be physically tough. More important than that to me is mentally tough. And you'll never know if they're mentally tough unless you put them in situations in practice where they have to quit. You have to find out whether they'll quit or not, and separate the quitters from the ones that won't. Because part of the thing that we do as coaches. If you got one that the players don't trust, if you got one that deep down is a quitter, and you play him, maybe you have to play him. But if you don't have to play him and you play him, the ones that'll do right, they'll never trust you, because they'll either believe as a coach that you don't know, that you can't recognize the turd in that kid, or worse than that, they'll think you don't care. Because that one kid that's half-stepping, that just BS's every practice, that every day you're trying to get to do right, and the kid is just so dang persistent. So persistent like that, just that little 5-year-old that won't ever do right. And if you still play him, it hurts your credibility with all the other kids. And they'll still try hard. The ones that'll try hard will always try hard, regardless of who the coach. That chair could coach them. But at the end of the day, they'll either think that, man, dude, does he not know? Does coach not know what that kid's all about? Or they'll be like, man, coach don't care. Coach's going to play him anyway. And then you've lost credibility of your team. Got to be physically, mentally tough. Accountable. We tell our kids, little babies are cute, but what are little babies? Little babies don't think of anything but themselves. They cry when they're tired, when they're hungry, when they're cold, when they're thirsty. I always laugh, and I got 3 kids and got some coaches on our staff that have little babies. And to me, the funniest thing in the world, well, not the funniest, there's some other stuff that's funnier, but it's awfully funny to me when people talk to babies. Like a baby's crying, they're like, shh, it's okay, we'll be there in a minute. The baby, he doesn't speak English. What are you telling him? He doesn't talk, he doesn't hear what you're saying. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to tell the baby to be patient. Baby can't even understand words, let alone patience. You know what I mean? We got like 20-year-olds that don't. There's some of us in this room that don't understand patience. And you're telling a little kid that they didn't even, talk or listen. Well, don't be that little kid. That's what we don't want our players to be. Don't be the one that does everything you do in your life. All you do is filter it through. How does this affect me? Now that's a hell of a task right there. Now, but I know one thing for certain: it'll never happen if you don't talk to your kids about it. Okay? Maturity means understanding that other people are counting on you to do your job. It is team defense. There are plays for everybody, but it doesn't work if one guy goes the wrong way. That we're all accountable on each other, okay? And not because you want to, but because you have to, okay? Not because you want to, but because you have to, okay? What are we? We are givers, not takers. And I know you got to get them out there, but when they get out there, I tell them, I say, you are in the wrong room if you are wondering what your teammates are there to do for you. We do get to pick our players. We go recruit them. And the first thing you got to do with us is you got to unrecruit them when they get there. You got to de-recruit them. Because the kid that walks in and says, I'm here, what y'all going to do for me? No. That's not the deal. What are you going to do for us? What are you going to do for the guys? What are you providing? And that's what I told him. I said, that little funny cartoon, that box, what's in your box? What are you giving us? Or do you just like wearing the shirt on campus? Do you just like wearing the jersey to school on Friday or the tie, just so that the girls know you play on the football team? Or like we tell them, some of them, or do you just like showering in the locker room after practice? You know what I mean? Just to check all the guys out and see how you compare. You know what I mean? And we got some now. We got some shower guys. You know what I mean? Hey, God bless them. The lasting memory of all this, and we all remember this from our careers, is the sacrifice, okay? And we talk about this. We say we want to chase God, not the blessings. And what we mean by that is that to me is like saying we want to win. We want to win the game. Well, of course, everybody wants to win the game. That's no different than saying, I want all the blessings in the world. Heap it down on me right now. Come on, good stuff. Come my way. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. So we talked to our kids. I said, if you want blessings, you better start chasing God. In a religious illusion. In a football illusion, if you want to win, you better start chasing the things that make you win. And we talk about that all the time. Okay? So don't worry about the end result. Chase the way to get there. And see if you bear with me on this statement. See if you can understand. Whatever the percentage of belief in your team is the exact same as the level of your ability to serve your teammates. If I believe 50% that we're going to win the game, if I believe in you and we're teammates, if I believe in you 25%, I don't think you're very good, then ultimately that affects my ability to help our team. If I believe 100%, if I'm all bought in, if I'm all the way in on this deal, and I believe it's destined for success, that's the exact same as my ability to serve my teammates. Because if I'm not all in, I will always hold something back. I will always, that kid that's halfway in can always hold something back. And they usually, when they do it when it gets tough, okay? Especially during adversity. That's what we are, okay? And the last thing is this, and this is what we talk about, guys. Freaking, we're men. This is what we want to be. We want to be men. We know right now society is killing the role of a man. This is not negotiable. This is our job as coaches. We're trying, and yeah, we want to make you better men and husbands and fathers, but we want to be men on this field. We want to act like men. And y'all want to be men? Y'all want to be men, in the high school age group, in the college, you want to be men? That's what we're talking about right here. So you want to be a man, you got to act like a man. Now, are you ready for all that comes with? Are you ready with all that comes with? Or do you think you're a man because you can grow a mustache or something like that, okay? And we talk about you can't control the NFL. You can't control getting a college scholarship. But you can dang sure control being a man unless you have a sex change, which is kind of weird, okay? Dun-dun-dun. All right? Want to be men. And at the end we talk about, and this is the close of this one right here, and this is what we talked about at the end, the real goal. Remember the first picture we showed at the beginning? It was the trophy. Truth of the matter is this, that's not the real goal, and I want you guys all, and this is what we tell them, is everybody in here right now, when you think about right now, you think about your memories from when you played, when you were young. I mean, you may think about that championship game, but you're really going to think about the bond you had with your teammates. And that's what it's about. And the reality is, it's the most special thing in the world. That's why we all do what we do. This is our only way to tap back into that time. That's why we have the best job in the world. Because we kind of get to be in on that team. Because you guys know, in other lines of work, people don't believe in those ideals, and they certainly don't follow them. And actually, and the worst part is in a lot of other places, you can still be successful and not follow those ideals. It's really hard to be successful in football and not follow those ideals. Makes it a great play. Makes it a great job. That's why we do what we do. Okay? That's what we want to be right there. Okay? All right. Let's talk about hitting quarterbacks. We'll go here for a little bit, and then we'll take a break. The fire zone. And that's going to be I would say the main part of what we talk about today is the zone blitz. And I'm going to try and do everything I can to convince you that it's a great scheme. It's easy. It's the easiest thing we do. It's fun. And the kids want to do it. So let's sort of dive in, and we'll talk about sort of the general things that we do and how we do it. And through the course of the night, we'll talk about drills. We'll watch film, And I really want you to be able to walk out of here with an idea to say, not oh, I heard this coach talk and you know they do this and it looks good. No, like walk out here like, dang, we can do this. Like we can bring this back, because I don't care right now. I don't care whether you're 4-3, I don't care whether you're 3-4, whether you're 3-3-5, or whether you're, you know, 11-0. I mean, whatever you want to play on defense. I think you'll see something tonight to understand how you can incorporate it into what you do. Okay, fire zone. Why zone blitz? First, you got to have a why. Okay, why zone blitz? Okay, like I said, number one, I think it's easy. I think it's easier than a lot of other things we do. Okay, it is sound. One thing that I laugh, and you just hear people talk, they say, well, you guys blitz, but you're reckless. No, we're not reckless. We've probably zero blitz this year 20 times on the season. We're going to blitz, but we're going to have somebody, we're going to have one guy deep, if not three, if not two. Okay? It's aggressive. You can't pick your players. Okay? Some of them aren't aggressive by nature. You're forcing aggression. Hey, Junior, sit here, read these 17 things, and then go play fast. Force aggression. It forces the offense to adjust to you. And that's a big thing. That's really what we want to do. We want people, like I said, when Middle Tennessee came up on the schedule in the last 4 years, we wanted those offensive coordinators to say, son of a bitch, got to play these dickheads again. Whether we're good, bad, or indifferent. We just want to unnerve them for that entire week, okay? Make them adjust to us. And the last thing is this. The kids think it's cool. They're like, is that like that stuff, NFL stuff? Yeah, it's like we got it. We CIA stuff, like we stole it from, like, you know, we intercepted some fax transmission, and they're like that. I mean, they think instantly that you're a better coach because you're bringing some stuff like down some mountain where there's like some guy smoking a pipe and gave you like a sheet of paper with like a blitz on it, okay? And hey, but listen, if the kids think it's cool, they'll run it better. That's half the battle. You know what I mean? Be good or think you're good, one of the two, okay? Well, okay, you know why? I'm going to do the other thing around. I'm going to say, why not zone blitz? What are the things that I hear? Why should we not zone blitz? I'm going to try, and instead of trying to convince you to do it, I'm going to try and dispel the reasons not to do it, okay? One is you can give up big plays. I don't know, man, all that blitzing, you know, first fundamental of defense, don't give up big plays. That's all true. Don't want to give up big plays, okay? Stopping the run is all weird, you know what I mean? I mean, I've been a 4-3 guy my whole life, or a 3-4 guy at cover 2, or, you know, cover 3 or cover 4 or whatever, and I know all the run fits, and now when we start moving all these people around, and I just, you know, if a run spits, I'm not going to have the answer for my kids, and it just becomes complicated, you know what I mean? I don't know what to tell the kids sometimes stopping the run. To missed assignments, that's the number one thing. Of course, you know, missed assignments beat you to defense, so, you know, I just don't know if our kids can handle all that, you know. We struggle just playing base stuff. I mean, how can we zone blitz? You know what I mean? That seems way too over the head. We're just trying to get 11 guys going the right direction, okay? So I'm going to ask you to convince yourself. That's what I'm trying to spend. I'm here to pitch it to you. I'm not giving a clinic talk like check. I'm trying to pitch you on why I think you should do this and how it can help you, okay? Let's convince ourselves why we want to be an aggressive defense, okay? The number one thing I can say is this, is that all you're playing is cover 3. If you play cover 3, you ain't doing anything different when you zone blitz, except you're trading one hook player. You got 2 guys that defend the middle of the field. You're trading one of them for an extra rusher. That's a trade that I will make pretty much every day of the week and twice on Sunday, if they let us play on Sunday, okay? Because to me, that's not a whole lot to give up. And the truth of the matter is, usually when you blitz, somebody's got to stay in and block that guy. So instead of them potentially having 5 out, that you got to cover with 7 if you're a cover 3 defense, okay? Well, now you've kept one in. Maybe they only have 4 out. Maybe they only have 3 out. And you're defending them with 6. Doesn't seem like, to me, that doesn't seem like it's taking a chance. Doesn't seem like that's that big of a leap of faith, okay? This is the big thing. Zone blitz is an offensive play. If you call cover 2, you can't call cover 2. You can't just bring your kids out in the field and say, run cover 2. Because the corner will say, okay, but on cover 2, I'm going to read, who am I going to read? I'm going to read 2, I'm going to read the tackle, I'm reading somebody, you know what I mean? And because if it's run, I got to support. If it's pass, I'm going to sink. So I mean, I can drop on air, you know what I mean? But I can't really play the defense. If I'm a linebacker and we're playing cover 3 or we're playing cover 4 or cover 2, whatever your base coverage is, say, okay, we're just gonna walk out in the field, play it. But maybe I'm a back read team. Maybe I'm reading guards. There's no guards here. So like, I mean, yeah, we can drop, but that's not like I'm not getting any better by playing this in January, February, March, April, May, June. You know what I mean? Because I'm not playing my defense. Our zone blitz, we can blitz it on air because it's an offensive play. No different than if you went in there, you call the protection, you said everybody run 4 verticals and the back checks down. They can all do it whether there's a defense there or not. And we put our offense the same way. We'll line up on trash cans or on a play strip, and we'll start calling our blitzes, and we don't need an offense there. And we'll get into it, there's only one thing that ever changes. There's only one guy that's got to make a decision on his drop the whole way. Everybody else gets to where they get to, regardless. And what that makes you do, you can practice it all the time. You can get good at it all the time. Offense, whether they're there or not, doesn't matter. It's an offensive play, okay? And then, like I said, there's only one adjustment. There's only one guy that's got to be able to count to 2. If he can count to 2, then he's got to say one word. So it's easy. We love to call fire zone first play of the drive. You may not know what they're going to come at you with personnel-wise. The kids are unhinged. I mean, they don't know what's you know. It's a situation where they're a little bit panicky. It's the most stable thing we have because we're telling everybody where to go. Okay. It's easy to recruit your hallways. Like I said, you got those kids that maybe are on the fence in terms of coming out, wanting to play football. I mean, to me, is that what they're not doing across the hallway? Hey, you want to run the ball up the middle, you know, 80 out of 85 plays a game? Not in this day and age. That looks like a hell of a lot more fun. Well, you want to come play defense? What do we do on defense? You know, just like sort of sit there and whatever. No, shoot. You'd be awesome in our defense. You know, look at it. Boom. We're going to hit the quarterback. We're doing all this stuff. We're making all these plays. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Or maybe you got a kid, you don't have to recruit your hallway. Maybe there's one that they're not using. Maybe the kid that can't catch. Maybe it's a third-string running back. Again, maybe it's that sophomore tailback. You got a senior and a junior. The tailback is not getting any play over there. Come on over here on defense. Look at all this stuff we're doing. They want to come on defense. Hell, it looks like you're all having a lot more fun than we are. Let's go. Okay. Who doesn't want to make plays? Raise your hand. You won't get many hands up. Okay. Takes the pressure off a play caller. And that's the one thing I've got to impress upon you is that, and I believe this next point sort of is the same thing. Yeah, like which is the best of all blitz? All of them. There is absolutely very little science to this deal. If you want to be in a truly attacking defense, the best way to call defenses for the most part is like this. I love when I listen to Tony talk and practice, and part of the reason why we love going against each other because he could really care less what we're doing because he has a theory. They're going to be in man or zone. And I have a theory too. I mean, they're going to run or they're going to pass it. I mean, there's not a whole lot of things that are going on here. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to call a run or a pass, and we're going to call man or zone, and pretty much we're going to play football, okay? And we don't have a blitz that I could show you today that I was like, son, bring this one back, okay? But we have like a lot of blitzes that are kind of simple because they're all pretty much similar like each other. And if you can run all of them well, and when I say all of them, it might mean running 3 mirrored, so you can run, you know, weak and strong or whatever. But if you can do all of them, to the offense, it looks like 1,000 of them because you're coming from them everywhere. Coach, they're coming from everywhere. That's what we want. All we want to do on defense, exactly, we got about 13, 14 guys out there to whoever we're playing against, okay? So it's not complicated. It's not complicated as a play caller. Which one you want to call? Shit, just pick one. Who cares? Okay, let's go. How did we convince ourselves? How did we get convinced at Middle Tennessee? I'll give you sort of the quick background, okay? Like I said, when Reggie Herring came, we blitzed more. We're #1 in defense. I saw what all that did. I saw, you know, the Mario Williams story when we didn't move and we were average, and then we did at the end of the year and we got better, okay? So I had it in my mindset when Stock hired me and I came here. I said, you know, I want to be an aggressive defense. I said, I want to do a lot of this stuff, okay? There's another thing going on at the same time. Oops, when I was at NC State, Tenuta was at Georgia Tech. John Tenuta was the defense coordinator. And Georgia Tech, to me, had very average personnel in our league. They just were on defense. They just had good players, not great players. They just sort of guys, okay? And then, like, Georgia Tech, they got, like, they engineering, they're building bridges and stuff. So every summer, like, their starting safety would get ineligible. So you're like, this is the year where they're going to take that big crash. I mean, they're going to, they can't pause. They lost that guy that graduated last year. They're going to sink down this year. And every year they'd finish in the top 20 in the country in defense. Because they were by far the most aggressive, blitz-happy defense. And so I'm in my hallway at NC State, and at that time I had 3 or 4 different offensive coordinators that were there at the time, and every one of them hated playing Georgia Tech. We got to play these guys, blah, blah, blah. And I said, geez, if I get to sit in that chair one day, I want to be one of those guys that they don't want to play us when it's our week. So with that in mind, and then we came here, and we're trying to, it's that first spring, and we're trying to put in our whole package, and we were playing, just some cover one, we were playing 3 deep zone and 2 deep zone, and just, base sort of defenses, and we were implementing our fire zones. But an amazing thing we found is that we were so much better at fire zone than we were anything else. And the reason was, when I got to middle from being in the ACC, I figured that the players would be a step slower and an inch shorter and not quite as big, or not weigh as much and not quite be as strong, and physically that they wouldn't be what we had there. And that was true to a point. But the biggest difference was really in between the years. Is that we had some good players, we had some really athletic players when we first got here, but we didn't have very many football players. We didn't have very many guys that just, like in the Matrix picture, that saw the little green numbers and letters and stuff. We had guys that would drop back in the zone. You ever have one of these that drops back in the zone and is like this, and there's like a receiver like right here, and the quarterback throws it right to him, and he like turns like this and lets the guy catch it and tackles him. And it's like, the guy's 1 yard away from you. Freaking tackle him. You know what I mean? Like they just couldn't. They weren't good decision makers. That's the best way I could put it. They weren't good at making decisions. So we almost wanted to put, like, on our defensive staff, and we wanted like something on the wall saying, don't let him make decisions. We wanted to be the least decision-making defense in the country. I want to make all the decisions for our players. I didn't want them to check from cover 2 to cover 3. I didn't want them to check anything. I wanted to just call a defense and have 11 guys just do what we called and don't make a decision. And the number one thing that made us do that was fire zone. Because when we played cover 3, we still had to know where the tight end was. If we played cover 3 and the guy went in motion, we had to change something. If we played, our man-to-man, things changed. The back went in motion, this guy had to happen, that had to happen. We weren't good at that stuff. Maybe y'all got, guys that get all that stuff and are smart as heck, but ours guys weren't. And what we found was that this was the best thing we did. And then I used the size example. I told you that we were smaller, and I've got a boxing analogy I was trying to sell. The first year we were at middle, our starting, one of our starting D tackles was 245. We went to Oklahoma that year, had to play Adrian Peterson. At halftime of that game, he had 23 carries for 76 yards. How in the world could that happen? And I told my guy, and the kids, and kids, because they always think that bigger's better. When they're young, the more weight they have, they must be a better player. If I'm good at 200, I'll be better at 210. If I'm good at 250, I'll be better at 280. I mean, they just all want to be big, big wins. And so I made a boxing analogy with them. I said, it doesn't matter how big you are, okay? If I know where your chin is, okay, if I was going to walk up and sucker punch you right now, and if you did not move, I could hit you as hard as I can. And even if I'm not as big as you, I could knock you out. If you're quick, and your chin is always moving, you think it's here and then it's down there and it's up here and you're constantly moving around, I can still hit you, but there's no way I can swing with the force that I swung with if I knew that you weren't going to move. Okay? And then if you're all over the place, now I'm totally lost all my aggression. And again, that's what we want to do. So we say, how are we going to win with all these little wee guys that we're playing with up front with a schedule that we had to play when we first got to middle? You got to move them. You got to go. Because if your team can't win the Rock'em Sock'em Robot game, well, you better help them out as a coach. But here's the funny thing. If you move them, and then you just want to play at straight base, you've helped them. Because that's what I'm saying. Now, if I don't move my chin, even if you hit me, you're not going to hit me as hard because you still thought that I might. So that now, even if I'm going to down block you, and let's say you do come on the field, and let's say I get a good block on you, it's not a great block, because I was 100%, because last time I down blocked you, you stunned it across my face. So that idea of moving, we're going to move the chin and not let people sort of get that feel in terms of where we're at, okay? And again, what we talked about, what do non-instinctive kids do best? Go where you tell them. I don't know what to do, Coach. You can go there or there. Which one should I go? Just go there. You sure? Yes. And they'll screw that up half the time too. You know what I mean? But they'll screw it up 3/4 of the time if you let them decide which way to go. Okay? And then we want to develop a personality and a mentality. I told you I spent a week with the Jets this off season because they like to pressure the quarterback too. And to me, the New York Jets, and for all I know, they're getting hammered right now, but I don't know. But to me, that is they might have the best corner in football. And right now, they have one of the best nose guards in football in Jenkins, but he's been out since week 6. They are, at best, slightly above average at every other position on defense. But they think that they're the baddest bitches ever around. They think that they are one of the best defenses in the history of football. Well, why do they think that? Because when they went in there and they got them all jacked up in terms of saying we're going to go attack the offense, all of a sudden all those guys start putting this armor on their body, like all of a sudden they're bigger than they are, they're better than they are, and then they start thinking that, and you get them kids start thinking that they're pretty good, they'll play pretty good. And to me, that's what the New York Jets are. #1 defense in the country. The same guys that last year played, a 3-4 read, just sort of were there, and they were good. And this year they go to great. What was the difference? They got unleashed. They started attacking the offense. It's a mentality that you want your kids to have. Okay, let's talk about some numbers. Fire zone. 2008, we fire zone 104 times. The second game of the year against Maryland, on the second play of the game, we gave up a 63-yard touchdown run. That sucked. Okay. That was the last play that year that went over 30 yards against our fire zone. So the first thing I'm going to sell you is this. The first thing I'm not going to sell you by showing you that all these great things that we do, okay, and look out, your clinic talk and everything's great. I'm going to give you the worst stuff first. Because when you go back, you guys are defense coordinators, your head coach is down this room, and you walk out and you're like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. And head coach, it's an offense guy, says, nah, BS, man, we're not going to screw it up. I said, Coach, I said, I don't know if it's taking as much of a chance as you think. There were 5 plays out of 104 over 20 yards. 50 plays went 3 yards or less. So Mr. Math tells me that's about half the plays they ran got 3 yards or less. What that tells me is that the dumbass defense coordinator didn't call it enough. Okay? Stupid. The next year he called it twice as often. We did not give up a play over 40 yards in our fire zone coverage this year. And you got to keep in mind, 208 plays, I think we played 13 games. I think we played like 800-something snaps of defense this year. So you're talking about, this is not like, small sample size. We do this about a quarter of the time. Okay? 5 plays over 30 yards, so I think that was what it was the year before too. So I think that's the same. 12 plays over 20, 27 plays for a loss, 40 plays of 0 yards gained. 115 total plays of 3 yards or less. Same thing. I mean, those are great numbers. It's still the dumbass defense coordinator didn't call it enough. I mean, when I look at the end of the year, I'm not saying that to be funny. Like, we probably don't. People think we don't do it enough. Because if you were playing blackjack, if you were playing a game with the odds, I mean, you'd hit on that more. Those odds are in your favor. Saying right now, half the time we call it, they get 3 yards or less. And we have good players, and it's always players. We have good players, but I still should have put our players in that situation more often because we're not getting big punishment, and we're getting a lot of reward. I'll figure it out one of these years. All right, let me do this. We're going to talk. I'm going to show you about 6 plays. We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to get into the actual defenses themselves. Okay, so I'm going to stop here with this one, and we're going to switch to this. Swing. And again, I'm going to try to be your not standard clinic talker. I can go in there and I can show you all the freaking devastating plays, and you guys will be like, God, this guy, what a coach, what a system. I mean, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to show you the worst plays that we gave up in Fire Zone this year. I'm going to show you the disasters first, because I want you to know that, first of all, nothing stops everything. Okay? It's cover 3. There's plays that cover 3 doesn't like. You run those plays against Fire Zone, there's a chance that Fire Zone won't like it too. But at least you got a chance to pressure the quarterback. Okay? But there's going to be, you'll see a breakdown. There's always going to be a breakdown. You can call base defense. Kid goes the wrong way. There's going to be a breakdown. Okay? But I'm going to try and convince you that this is something for you by showing you the worst plays that we had this past year. Okay? On Fire Zone. And don't worry about what the blitz is yet, because we'll talk blitz by blitz here when we come back after the break. Okay? This is against Clemson, first game of the year. Okay? And we're blitzing from the field. We're running in the Sam and Mike blitz. We're doing it out of our an odd look. And we'll get into this, even though those are all 4 defensive linemen, okay? So we're rolling the safety down here, deep middle. This guy right here is what we call our hot 3 player, and we'll talk about that after the break, okay? Okay. They're in a max protect. They're max protecting, and they're pumping, and they're trying. They know they think of an idea we're in cover 3. They're pumping the slant to get our deep middle safety over here, and then they're going to hit us on the vertical seam back over here. The corner here does a good job of playing in between 1 and 2. Is over to make the tackle, but the simple reality is this, is our deep middle player, and we don't ask that guy to read nothing. Remember what I talked about don't let kids make a decision? I tell that kid on each end of the field, they got a stick that's got 2 posts coming out of that, okay? All you do is get yourself on that stick and get deep, okay? In our mind, he made a decision. This kid made a choice that was not, he doesn't have the slant, there's nothing on pump that should make him break. So this could happen if we were in cover 3. This could happen if we were in. This is a simple mental breakdown. It has nothing to do with the fact that we're blitzing or not blitzing. Okay? And I'm telling you this because when you do this fall, and the same thing happens to you, and your head coach starts yelling at you, said, "I told you that blitzing wasn't worth a dang." I said, "Coach," so the kid just, he wasn't in the middle of the field. Okay? And we'll talk about the actual blitzing here in what we want there later on. But bottom line, we got a post player that right now is not inside the hash marks. I mean, that's suck defense. I don't care how you call it. That's a bad play. We got a bad play going on. We tackled the catch. Hooray for us. Okay? Okay. This is going to be a run. This is the longest run we surrendered in Fire Zone. Okay? And again, don't worry about the blitz for now. And again, you see us, we're in an odd look. We're blitzing a linebacker, and we're stunning the end around. Okay? This guy right here is what we call our hot 2 player. We'll talk about this. He's basically our curl player. But if number 2 blocks, he has to fill that gap. This is late in the game. We're getting hammered, okay? And we got all of our young kids in the game, which is we're fine. We're saving ourselves for next week, okay? So nobody blocks him, and all this guy right has to do. This is what we call hot 3. All he has to do is stay inside out the ball. He overruns it. We don't get the ball turned to our free hitter, okay? Our deep safety player comes out from deep middle to come make the tackle. And we have a true freshman here at corner that all he has, he's a 3rd player. And I don't care if you're blitzing or not blitzing, he's got to leverage the football. He's got to keep the football outside. No matter what defense you play, somebody's got to fence the football and got to leverage the football. So we mess this up, but the bottom line is what makes it a big play is the same thing that you have in your defense right now. Drop landmarks, leverage. He loses leverage, the guy turns the corner and runs for, I think that was like 30-something yards on that play. That's the worst running play we had all year, and it was all of our backups. And we've got a free hitter at the ballpark, and again, we got a young linebacker right here that if he just stays inside out the football and turns it to him, it's a 3-yard gain. And like I said, if you want to do this, you want to have the answers for the run. So when it spits, you can say, hey, dummy. But if it's a big play, bottom line, it's going to have something to do with him, the guy in the middle, or the other 3rd corner. Okay? So bad play there. Hello. Okay, this is at the end of the game. This is 40 seconds left. It's a bowl game. We're trying to put some of our, program guys in the game. You know what I mean? And so I mean we got walk-ons. It's just whatever. It is what it is. It was good for them to get in. But we screw up the blitz. We're blitzing the same way the defensive line go. And they run 4 verticals. And our corner just gets beat one-on-one. But this is just bottom line. If all 4 guys run down the field, pretty much every coverage they're in, it's going to be a one-on-one football play. and the guy catches it. Okay? But again, that is not something that we don't feel that the coverage got beat. We don't feel like we were in a blitz situation. Again, we're all, it's 40 seconds left. We're just trying to get everybody in the game at this point. But fair play to them. They caught it. You know, circus catch, they caught it. It still counts, okay? Bad play. Okay, we're running inside blitz right here, running the Mike and the Will on the A-gap cross blitz. Pressure the quarterback. They're running 4 verticals, which is not a good play against 3 deep zone. Okay, they run 4 verticals. This guy gets too wide off the hash mark in his drop, which we'll talk about when we come back in here after the break. We got the quarterback hit. Our blitz succeeded. Mike linebacker does a hell of a job on pass rush, but we don't defend the hash mark. The quarterback's able to slip it in. If the tackle is made right there, it's not a great play. It's a 25-yard gain, and the guy gets a couple extra yards. And same thing, our deep middle player is not in the deep part of the field. Okay, we didn't find those posts, but we got it on the ground. That's not going to that's not going to be in the ball game. And you have to sell your kids on this too. If you want to be a blitz team, probably should put this in the convincing part. You have to be a believer in the cumulative effect. What I mean by that is this: is that if you call a blitz and the first time you call it and you expect to sack the quarterback and force a fumble and scoop it for a touchdown, you got it all wrong. It's not the way it's going to work. Okay? You have to believe that the constant pressure. And I always say, I tell the players, especially early in the season, I say, are y'all going to freak out if we blitz and they start hitting on some plays? Y'all want me to stop blitzing? No, coach, no, don't stop. I said, okay. But you're also telling yourself as a play caller that if something happens, coach, don't flinch. Don't all of a sudden start saying, oh, no, like we got to start. And keep in mind, I mean, everything has a place. We don't blitz every snap. Everything has a place. But don't lose heart because all of a sudden you're not sacking the quarterback because they're hitting the play. Because you know those quarterbacks, sooner or later you keep hitting them guys, and things all of a sudden start to tilt your favor. Hit the quarterback. If a team wants to throw the ball, hit the quarterback enough times, and you'll find out what the cumulative effect of that is. Okay. Okay. This is where we're blitzing the Mike in the weak safety on this play, and we're actually blitzing the Will and dropping this end. That's the defensive end right there. We'll get into the blitz specifics after the break. Okay. And this is a busted assignment. We're playing cover 3. Our corners are starting looking like they're pressed right now, but they're just bail third players. Okay. And in our cover 3, I told you, we're not going to make decisions. We don't squeeze posts. We don't chase wheels. You're a third player in the true tradition of being a third player. And our third player gets over here and he gets all caught up with the post, which he does not have. Okay? So in reality, with what happens right here, that guy's, it's a defensive end. He's not in a bad position. We got the 3 under in good shape, but our 3 deep screw it up. Would this pass have been completed if he catching that soft area between him and him? Yeah, it should have been completed. But the third corner should have been right there coming off the post and come back in there to make the tackle on that guy. That should never happen. That is a, and what I'm trying to stress upon you is that's not complicated, right? That's a third. So we've watched 5 plays right now. 2 of the disasters, well, really 3 of the disasters have just been fundamentals of playing a third. I'm trying to convince if you play cover 3 already, you're already halfway home on this deal. Okay, especially against the passing game. Third's a third. Okay, so those are it. Those are the 5 plays. I said there were 5 plays this past year that were over 30 yards. Those are the 5 plays. 1 went for a touchdown, but you can see right there, there's no complicated, oh no, like they did this crazy thing. Leverage, assignments, you know what I mean? And nothing was ever a decision. Nothing was, should I do this or do that? You know, so that's it. So what we'll do is here, it's 4:17 right now. We'll break for 5. Let's say we'll get this thing started at 4:25. And then we come back, we'll talk specific blitzes and how we install our blitz package.